And he chronicles how they cut down the tree, get them to, some field and then into the water so the boat can pick them up, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, this guy, Mike Rowe, he's great. He's been on the show with Sydney and myself. He actually voiced over what was that show about the crab, Alaska, about the crab fishing, the crabbing, or whatever the hell it is? Whatever. Either way, Mike Rowe, he talked about how college, not necessarily the way. College is, and I've said this a million times, trade school is the way to go. You want to be a pipe fitter, a steam fitter, a machinist. I mean, you can make money immediately. You won't go into debt. You take your Afro-gender Polish studies at the Oberlin University, and you come out in debt and no job. But you can actually, my brother was a machinist. My brother, I haven't spoken to my brother in 15 years. And he was one of life's losers, so at least he was. I don't know how he's faring now. But he was a perpetual screw-up, yet he always had a job. Always had a job because he learned in a trade school, Saunders High School, which is a trade school in Yonkers. He learned how to be a machinist. And that's a job that is in demand. And so no matter how much you screwed up, or you would always have a job. Same thing with I know a guy, a boiler repair guy. He fixes boilers. Same thing. Always has a job. Always. And he's not a screw up anymore, but he was. Anyway, Mike Rowe talking about working with your hands and making money and not going to college. Listen to it.
My foundation has awarded $5.5 million in work ethic scholarships. We don't give money to kids who want to pursue a four-year degree. It's plumbers, steam fitters, pipe fitters, and welders, many of whom are now making six figures. I get to circle back every year and talk to them about things like job satisfaction. And it's really, I mean, if you can find the people who have prospered as a result of learning a trade and just tell their stories and not turn it into like a polemic or a eulogy or a lecture or a sermon. That's what this show does. You just, from a fly on the wall perspective, you see people work and you realize that you benefit from it.
All right, so it's a good show, folks. That's not exactly the stuff I was looking for, but here he is talking about the jobs that are available that come with a stigma attached to them. Everybody wants to go to college because college is not the answer for everybody. Maybe not for most people. I don't know. Anyway, what's the stigma?
You got 10 million open jobs right now, the vast majority of which don't require a four-year degree, and yet you have a narrative that says if you don't pursue a four-year degree, you're going to wind up with some sort of vocational consolation prize. That's why we have $1.7 trillion in student loans on the books, and that's why we continue to loan money we don't have kids who can't pay it back in order to train them for jobs that don't really exist anymore. Meanwhile, the skills gap gets wider as the unemployment rises, and for some reason, we continue to incentivize people to stay home rather than get out to the very jobs you're afraid we're going to look back on for decades hence and promote.
Yeah, exactly right. Incentivize people to stay home. We're talking about, I guess, all the money, the stimulus packages sent out to people unnecessarily. It turns out there was a study done by the CDC itself. The moratorium eviction was unnecessary. People actually prospered. They did very, very well. So it's so stupid. And plus, they want to get rid of, grades and honor rolls and specialized high school tests back to Kenny Zoo's point. So these kids are going to come out of these high schools and without any skills whatsoever, not even academic skills, but trade schools. Ladies and gentlemen, think about trade schools for you kids instead of having them brainwashed in these woke institutions where they bleed you dry, you go into debt, or your kid goes into debt. It's a waste of time. Eric is in Merrick. I like that. Eric from Merrick. Eric, you're on the Bernie and Sitcho without Sydney, who's off today. Be back tomorrow. Good morning, Eric.
Hey, Bernie. Again, pleasure to talk to you. I love your show. I got to tell you, I mean, I listened to everything that everybody is saying. All of these empty words. Nobody's taking action with the country. It's like rain going up. The country is upside down. And we're going to wait 3.5 years to get rid of Biden and whoever else replaces him. I mean, it's tied up. Is any help here? I mean, is somebody going to step up and take some action? It's Republicans are scared to hell to protest. Everybody goes to jail for, going in front of a building and protesting.
You're right, Eric. That was the point of, demonizing all these January 6th protesters election they suspected was tampered with, and that was legitimate. And then, of course, the unfortunate riots happened at the Capitol, where, by the way, a lot of the Capitol Police ushered them in, and a lot of these FBI agents actually were in with the plot. In other words, they helped perpetuate this nonsense, and that was the point of it. Was now it is people are afraid to show up for fear of being labeled domestic terrorists or whatever the hell it is, or wacko. They're succeeding, they're winning, and there's no end in sight again with this imbecile running the country, this corrupt imbecile. I mean, it's just bad. And so where is the recourse? Well, what recourse do we have? 25th Amendment, you get the other idiot, the one the borders are. This far, I mean, you got nobody. And then you have Nancy Pelosi. There's no light at the end of this tunnel until, at the very least, the 2022 election. And then they wouldn't take off until January of 2023. So Joe Biden is by far the worst president in the history of the United States. And again, Joe Lieberman told Mr. Katsimatidis on his Cats at Night show, and he said that if we had a parliamentary democracy, that even without a majority, the minority party could get a vote of no confidence and replace the president. But in this case, you have Kamala, so I don't know. I mean, they're slowly eroding. It just seems like everything's falling apart at the seams in this country. The good guys, the bad guys. Latest with the Border Patrol race baiting. You had Maxine Waters, and this is like slavery, Fredo. This is like slavery. It's all a lie. It's the Haitian, the whipping the Haitian hoax thing. Even had Chuck Schumer yesterday. This is what he said about the whipping of the Haitians. That, by the way, is totally false. Listen.
I urge President Biden and Secretary Mayorkas to immediately put a stop to these expulsions. That we cannot continue these hateful and xenophobic Trump policies that disregard our refugee laws.
Oh, he's talking about the expulsions. They're not expelling people. It's another lie. They're putting them on a plane and sending them into the interior. But you did have this congresswoman that part of the Hamas one. By the way, where's Chuck Schumer on the Democrats expunging $1 billion for Israel for their Iron Dome program? I don't hear him saying anything about that. He's terrified. He's terrified of little AOC. Here's another Hamas squad lady talking about the Border Patrol. Again, demonizing law enforcement. This creepy Ayanna Presley. Listen to her.
Congress must do the work of investigating and ensuring accountability of the egregious and white supremacist behavior of Border Patrol agents in Del Rio, Texas.
White supremacy. I mean, that everything. They're doing their jobs. You have a border. They're coming in illegally. You see the freaking refugee camps with tents and sticks, and people, ladies, giving birth in the dirt. Come on, you got to stop that. They're doing their job. And of course, they were taken off the field, given test jobs while they're investigating. While Billy and Austin and all those guys that incinerated a family and 37 kids. No, it's not going to get to all the time. To the point that this is a complete total hoax. There's a Latino Democrat congressman from Texas named Henry Clare, and he said this about the whipping patient hoax.
Border Patrol has had those forced brigades for a while. They've had them for a while. They don't carry whip, and they do not carry grants. So what are they supposed to do? Just stand there and let everybody come in?
Exactly right. I mean, a voice of reason for the Democrat Party from a Latino Democrat. I mean, again, I mentioned it earlier, all these hoaxes, they backfire, Covington, Smollett, the NASCAR news hoax, and now this. It's just not fair. It's not true. And it's dangerous, it's poisonous, it's ugly. Now let's go to Mike in St. James, Long Island, Justin. Mike, you're on the Bernie and Sid show. Good morning.
Well, Bernie, I believe the 22 election next year will be rigged. Is there any way Donald Trump could get on Fox like once a month and have donations pay for it so he could explain to the public what's happened?
Mike, thanks for the call. He gets on Fox. I see him interviewed by Hannity, by Greg Gutfeld. He's been on Fox. Newsmax covers his speeches when he gives them every, I think monthly or every other month or whatever. Listen, there's a real danger they're going to steal the elections, and if they pass their stupid, they call it for the People Act, I call it for the Cheaters Act. They don't want election integrity, and they label election integrity as racist so that they can pass that stupid for the people, for the Cheater Act, for the Cheaters Act, 1-800-848-9222. I'm not very optimistic, folks. On the Bernie and Sid Show, 1-800-848-WABC. I am optimistic about maybe electing a new governor in 2020. Again, we have to wait. And Rob Astorino is one of those guys running. He's going to join me at 7:40, and then we'll talk to Lee Zeldin a little bit later and Bill O'Reilly on the Bernie and Sid Show. Without Sid Rosenberg, who will be back tomorrow?
Entertaining and informative talk for New York. Streaming now on your smart speakers. Playing 77 WABC. Well, you have a big problem now on 78 in New Jersey. This is in the local lanes right around exit 56. An accident with injuries, 2 lanes around instead of 2 right lanes. But as a result, you're backed up in both the local and express from the Garden State Parkway. You're eastbound on 80 at exit 34, crash in the right lane. Then westbound again, that emergency construction, the 2 left lanes are out between 57 and 56. Eastbound on the crosswalks at White Plains Road, we still have that truck car accident. Bell Parkway now, no problem. This one's going to be by Shell Road, unauthorized truck, 1 lane out. Heading inbound Hudson River Crossing. George Washington Bridge, very difficult this morning. 45 to the upper, 30 to the lower. Inbound Lincoln and Holland, about a 20 to 30 minute delay. And alternate side of the street parking rules and regulations again today are in effect. This supporting service of expresspros.com. Looking for a holiday job or seasonal work? It's time to get to know Express Employment Professional. Visit expresspros.com to find your local office and let them help you find a job. No fees for job seekers. Expresspros.com. I'm Joe Nolan with Traffic Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Ladies and gentlemen, today is the first day of fall. That's right. I'm sick of this September humid weather. But anyway, at Ramsey Subaru, their heads are spinning with the summer over. Where does the time go? They want to know. Well, no matter what the season, Ramsey Subaru has the largest vehicle inventory in the area and some terrific offers. Folks, there's a huge car shortage out there because of computer chips. I don't know why, but it exists. A huge car shortage. But not at Ramsey Subaru. They have the largest Subaru inventory in the tri-state area, maybe the country, folks. So they're going to have what you want to look at, like the Subaru 2021 Outback with available 0% APR financing for 63 months. All Outback models are equipped with state-of-the-art safety features with the Subaru EyeSight suite of camera-based driver assist technology. Subaru has been ranked Kelly Blue Book's most trusted brand for 7 years running. Test drive one at Ramsey Subaru, 6-time winner of the Dealer Rater's Consumer Satisfaction Award. Ladies and gentlemen, they win that award because they're trustworthy people up at Ramsey Subaru, which, by the way, is on Route 17 in Bergen County, just finished with the George Washington Bridge. Sid has been up there with his family for charity events. Just give you an idea of the kind of people they are, the kind of people you want to buy a car from. So, in store, in their facility, Ramsey Subaru is COVID safe. Pleasant experience you'll have. Or you can shop online with their program, Ramsey at Home, where fully 100% of the sales process can be done remotely. You can buy a car from the convenience of your living room, ladies and gentlemen, your choice. If you need a car now, chances are that Ramsey Subaru has what you want. Visit Ramsey Subaru, Highway 17 south of Bergen County, or you go to their website, ramseysubaru.net. That's ramseysubaru.net.
Call 888-595-4125 for lease details. Offers available to qualified buyers. Subject to primary lender approval. Costs exclude taxes, license, and registration. VIN number N3118-106. Model NDP-01. Sale ends 9/30/21.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition next on 77 WABC.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Cityside Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction? Well, I have great news. We can now effectively treat ED without any pills. Cityside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of waste 5555. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction by treating the root cause of the problem and get your love life back. Call Cityside Medical Clinic in the next 2 minutes to qualify. 646-715-5555. 646-715-5555.
Really good coffee starts with the best coffee beans. That's why Berry House Coffee uses fair trade, organic, high-quality grade beans, perfectly roasted in New York since 1934, and guarantees delicious Berry House Coffee, available at Christie's and D'Agostino. Joe Hamburg here, and I'm going to share with you one of my great lectures. A bath fitter that literally fit over my old bathtub. It's gorgeous. It's the best stress reliever you can have. No mess installing. They do it in a day. Over 2 million satisfied customers. Great financing options. Call Best Fitter now. You tell them Joe sent you. 877-792-BATH. 877-792-BATH BATH. Get fresh Calandris bread today. Available now in New York at your local market at Christie's and D'Agostino. With bakeries in New Jersey and Newark, Fairfield, and Caldwell. All Calandris fresh baked bread are 100% natural homemade.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up with the NRIA.net studios in New York. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. Investors, Bill O'Reilly here. Are you sitting on capital or wanting to diversify? The NRIA Real Estate Development provides returns right now. They capitalize on strategic markets. They offer a payout of 10% annualized returns plus bonuses up to 21%. They are a 15-year industry leader who have seen it all. Start your due diligence at nria.net or call 800-800-1414. That's easy. 800-800-1414.
And offer securities is only by the NRIA private placement memorandum. Read it first. Transfer bonuses don't guarantee future results. NRIA is a real estate development firm. Learn more at NRIA.net.
On this Thursday, I just read a column that says even though the woke movement is stupid, it may lead to some good things. The writer has cited a greater sensitivity to historical injustice as one example. I guess the point is valid, but my analysis is that woke stuff far more often leads to a fascist denial of fairness than it does to enlightenment. As Joe Biden might say, come on, monitoring Halloween costumes for cultural events, changing the names of sports teams, allowing cowards to demand safe spaces in the workplace and in school. And dangerous. These woke fanatics are basically by threatening to lodge accusations and in many cases doing so. They are misguided people who want to destroy things and human beings. I despise them. So I avoid them. I interact with hundreds of folks, and not one of them, to my knowledge, is woke. And that's the way it will stay. Life is far too short for this nonsense. Now this. Thousands of abandoned animals in the USA need your help. Delta Rescue, founded by actor Leo Brillo, the largest no-kill care-for-life animal sanctuary in the world. Their trained staff take animals in, provide them with food, water.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning. Thank you for your patience. I will be on in a moment. I just need to get into the cab. But first, I need to get my tie and jacket on.
Yeah, that helps.
All right.
Thank you so much. Have a seat.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. Have a safe and successful. Thank you. Mercy on Friday. I'll talk to you tonight.
Tightening up or is not?
these. We should just put it in. That's fine. Yeah. I don't want to go through the thing. Okay. Bulges and don't sit well with that security, so we should not make any meetings cover. Already is. That's how it's gonna make.
All righty. Okay, getting into the car now. Here's the newspaper here. Okay, you'll get it. Hello, thank you. Good morning. It's been a while. How are you? Doing all right. Doing all right. To United Airlines. Yeah, definitely not the toll free. Okay. All right, so we are near the bottom of 22B. Today's DAF is Kaf Gimel. And what we had just dealt with is this question of smoking incense on Yom Tov, and whether or not one is allowed to use incense to perfume food and or to perfume just to just be able to smell the perfume, to perfume food, and to perfume clothing. We said that perfuming clothing is prohibited because you're introducing a new thing. We said that perfuming a room just to be able to smell the perfume, that's permitted. And now we're going to deal with, and again, as a reminder, this is all based on the question of whether or not something is ochel nefesh. Does it we're allowed to do things for ochel nefesh, for our food, but there are some limits to that permission. And in particular, there's a limit on our ability to do certain kinds of preparations when it's not actually necessary. And so here we're now going to turn to the question about smoking the fruits and whether that's going to be permitted. So Ibailahu, we're now on the third to last line of 22B and the second word on the line. So Ibailahu, they ask, Mahu Lashain, what's the rule with respect to smoking? And Rashi tells us that we're talking about smoking fruits on Yom Tov, so that the fruits will absorb some of the taste of the incense or whatever spice that is that you're burning in order to bring it some nice flavor. Okay, and so Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba Amarav Asur. Rabbi Yirmiyah says that it's prohibited, and Rashi explains that it's prohibited because that we don't need to. This is an extra thing, and you don't, and not everybody appreciates it. Meaning, it's something that only the wealthy would do, and so as a result, since it's not something that everybody is naturally going to appreciate, and so as a result, it's not permitted. On the other hand, Shmuel Amar Mutar. Shmuel says, no, the reason that not everybody does it is not because it's something that only some people enjoy. The reason that not everybody does it is because it's something that that not everybody can afford. But if everybody could afford it, they would all do it. And so as a result, that is still considered something that people would appreciate and enjoy. So that's the second. So that's the other opinion. And so Shmuel says that it's mutter, it's permitted. Rav Huna Amar Asar Mipnei Shemechabe. The Rav Huna introduces a new idea. He says that there's an idea that we want to enable us to do certain cooking and preparations of food on Yantif to enjoy on Yantif. But if we do that, if we do certain things, those actions will cause us to put out the fire. And we don't want to extinguish any of the coals because extinguishing coals is in and of itself a problem. So Amar le Rav Nachman asked him the question, why are you focusing on the extinguishing? What about the fact that the spices that you put on the fire to burn, they themselves will catch on fire and burn? Shouldn't that be a problem? And so Amar le, Rav Huna responds back, yes, you're absolutely right that both of those ideas are a problem. But the first thing that will happen is the fire will be extinguished, and then only after the fire gets extinguished will the spices themselves be kindled. And so as a result, that's why I referenced the extinguishing, and I didn't mention the kindling. So Amar Rav Yehuda al Gabi Gachalas Asur. Rav Yehuda says that placing spices directly on the coal, that's therefore going to be prohibited, but al Gabi Cheres Mutar. But if you put it on something in between, like a piece of earthenware, then it would be permitted. Rabba Amar, no, Rabba disagrees and says, al Gabi Cheres Nami Asur. Even if you put it on something else, it's going to be prohibited. And Rashi explains the reason that it's going to be prohibited is because the thing itself will develop a smell, and we're not allowed to cause objects to smell. We can't introduce new smells to some kind of vessel. And so that was what we learned yesterday. So mishum de kamolid recha, because there's this concept of molid reach, that you're creating a new smell in an object. And so that's going to be a problem. Okay. So Rabba Rav Yosef the Amri Tarbayu, Sehufi Kasa Ashirai Biyom Tava Asur. So now, consistent with this idea, what if I were to take a cup that had some incense in it, and I turn it over on some silk and on yontif, so that now the fabric will absorb it? That's going to be prohibited. My taima mishum de kamolid recha, because again, you're creating a new fragrance in an object. So creating a new fragrance in an object is going to be prohibited. Umaishna mimolo umrechobo. Well, one second, we also have a general rule that you're allowed to take, some kind of fragrant wood and rub it between your fingers like this, right? And that will, promote. I'm thinking of like a scratch and sniff. That will promote the smell to come out, and then you can smell it, and you're allowed to do that on Yantif. Right? So v'kotmo merechobo, and or for example, if you have something that's already cut, right? You have some cinnamon, a stick of cinnamon. If you cut that stick of cinnamon, that will often promote smell, right? That will create a new smell in the cinnamon, because you'll have exposed parts of the cinnamon that were not previously exposed. So how come if those two are permitted and that's creating a new smell, right? Why is that not creating a new smell also? Why does that not have the same problem of molid reya? So Hassam, and this is probably something that you could figure out yourself as well. Hassam, Recha Mia Isa, there, the fragrance already exists, right? You already have that fragrant object. Now you're just enhancing or getting it to refresh itself. So that's why it is. That's why that is going to be permitted. Whereas if you're putting a new smell on an object, that will be prohibited. And that's really how we come out. Hacha olidahu the kamoli recha. But here in the case where you put the new incense, the new smell on the silk garment, so then you're that's going to be a problem because it's a new smell on the silk garment. So that's going to be a new smell. So all right, so that's the distinction. Again, new smell on an object, that's going to be a problem. Enhancing a smell that already exists, that's not going to be a problem. So those are the two approaches. So now Rava Amar, Al Gabi Gachelas Nami Mutter. So he now goes back, and we had said that somebody had said that even putting it on, Rabbah, I think, had said that Rabbah had said it was even a problem on the earthenware. But Rav Yehuda said that you can't put it on the fire. And Rabbah says, no, even on the fire, it's permitted. Why? That it's basically just like when you put meat on a fire. After all, if you put meat on a fire on Yom Tov, the fire will go out a little bit and the meat will burn. So what's the difference? And we have a principle of mitok. Mitok says that when you can do something that's permitted for food, you're allowed to do it for non-food things as well. So and Rashi specifically says, Kishmuel, that Rabbah holds like Shmuel, the Ochel Nefeshu, that this is considered something for food. Ashrum Peros Zeh, the Shavel of Kol Nefesh, and it's something that everybody wants. The Imishrum Kiboy Vahavara, the Olu de Reka, and if you're worried about all those three things of the extinguishing, of the creating a new fire, or of the putting a new smell, midi to have a basra agumre. That's the same thing that happens to a piece of meat. Deika kol hani bishari. That all of those things happen to the piece of meat, and yet we say that putting a piece of meat on some coals is permitted. And so basically, because we're going to allow putting the meat on coals, we are also going to allow putting the incense on coals in order to cause the fruit to be nicely smelled. And indeed, I believe that that's the way we paskin. That's the way we conclude. So, Darish Rav Yavia Mibei Kasor Apitcha Debei Reish Kalusa. So Rav Gavia of Bei Kessel, he was teaching some Torah at the opening of the Reish Kalusa's house, at the head of the person who was head of the Galus at that time. And he said, Keturah Shari, he said that this act called Keturah is permitted. Now, of course, the obvious question that the Gemara is going to ask is, Amar Le Amemar, my Keturah. What does Keturah mean? Now, Keturah in the Torah is a phrase, or in the Gemara has generally meant some kind of incense. So we're going to try and figure out what level of incense we're talking about. So, Keturah biyadeh, if Keturah means that you're pressing sleeves of clothing, well then Maseh Umanhu, that's definitely some kind of work for a professional, and a professional craftsman's work is considered a malacha, and that's going to be prohibited on Yantif. The Ila Shane, but if it just means to smoke something, Asur Dahaka, then it would be prohibited because it is considered because you're going to extinguish some coals. So it seems like the keturah should be prohibited no matter what. So how could he have said that keturah is permitted? So Amar le Ravashi la'olam la'ashing. Really, it means to smoke. And what it means is to smoke some fruit, just as we had said before. And midi the havi abasra guma and gumre. And just like we said with respect to the meat, that we are going to allow it because the just as meat is allowed to be cooked, be heated up and put on coals directly, even though it will cause all the different issues will exist with respect to that, meaning it's going to extinguish some of the coals, it's going to itself be lit up, it's going to produce smell. So all of those things exist, but since it's all for food, and we're going to say it's permitted. So Amrale Rav Ashi said to him, oh no, sorry, that's but Ikada Amri, other people say that the teaching went like the following. Amrale a Maimar, that rather than a Maimar asking the question, that what a Maimar said, my Keturah, what's Keturah? Keturah biyadeh, if it means to press leaves, Maase Umanhu, Ila Ashen, Asar, the Kamolid Recha. And if it means to smoke, so then it should be prohibited because it's Molid Recha. So again, he's asking the same question, but not focusing on mechabe, on the extinguishing, but instead he's focusing on the creating of fake fragrance. And he ends up saying that either way it should be prohibited. And then again, Amar Ravashi says back, no, Ana Amrite Niale. I said this law to Rav Gavia, and Mishmei de Gavra Rabba Amrite Nahale. And I told him in the name of a great person. La'olam la'ashen, really it means that it's to smoke fruits. And again, just like we can smoke meat and we're allowed to roast meat on coals, so too we can put incense on coals in order to give fragrance to fruit. All right, so now that ends the discussion of smoking things, and we now turn to the last ruling that Rabban Gamliel had in our Mishnah, where he said, "Va'osin gedei mekulas." We said that now this is something that we saw in Masechus Pesachim. He said that you're allowed to roast a kid on Pesach with its insides next to it. Now, why would you think that you can't do it? We're going to learn a brisa that reminds us of the reason. Tanya, it was taught in a brisa. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Rabbi Yossi says, Todos ish Romi. Todos was this gentleman from Rome. Hinhig as b'nei Romi, and he caused a custom for the people in Rome to do what? That they would eat a roasted kid with the insides next to it roasted on Pesach nights. So the rabbi sent him a message, and they said, if you weren't such a great person, Gozerenu alecha nidui, we would send you into excommunication. Why? Sha'ata machil es b'nei Yisrael kachim b'chutz, because you're causing the Jews to eat actual sacrifices outside of Yerushalayim. So the Gemara asks, kachim salkadaitak, are they really actually getting them to eat offerings that are outside Yerushalayim? He's not. This is not real kachim. He's just making it look like it. Ela ke'ain kachim. It looks like kachim, meaning that it looks like what you're doing is actually offering a sacrifice, and we don't want to create that impression incorrectly. Okay, so the next Mishnah says, Shloshad Varim Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah matir. There were three things that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah permitted. The Chachamim osrim, and the Chachamim said that they were prohibited. He would let his cow go out in public with a strap between its horns, and Rashi explains that this was a thing of beauty in order to beautify the animal. And he would he would allow certain kinds of combing of the animal on Yom Tov. V'shokakin es hapilpulin v'rafayim shalahan. And he would allow the usage of a pepper grinder. So again, all three of these things he says is permitted, and the Rafakam say are prohibited. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, ein mekadron es behema b'yom tov. Rabbi Yehuda says you can't use the mekadron, you can't use a special kind of, we'll see in the Gemara, a metal comb on Yom Tov, because you're going to end up causing a wound. Aval mekartzifin, but you're allowed to do kirtzuf, which is using a wooden comb to essentially scrape and scratch the animal. I'm saying no, you can't do either. And again, we'll see in the Gemara exactly why that is the case. So Lamemra, the Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, when we said that he had parato, his cow, so that suggests that he only had one cow. Rav, and we said, Rav said, Amrile, Amar Rav, Yehuda, Amar Rav, that it was said in the name of Rav, Tleisar Alfeg Egle, have a Maser, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Ma'adre, Kol Shata V'Shata, that every year he would tithe 13,000 calves from his flock. So clearly he had more than one cow. So Tana, Lo Shalo Haisa. So this animal was not his, but rather it was his neighbor's. And since he didn't protest the practice, Nikras al Shmo, so it was referred to as his. So again, he really did have more than one cow. All right, umakadron. So now we have this concept of combing the animal. So umakadron is a behemoth yom tov. So Beitzah teaches Tanarabanan. We learned in a Beitzah, Ezehu Kadur, the Ezehu Kirtzu. What's the difference between this Kardu and Kirtz, Kadur and Kirtzu? Kadur Kitanim, Ba'osim Kabura. Kadur is a metal comb that has small teeth and almost always will make a wound. Kirtzu Gedolim, Ve'enos in Kabura. Kirtzu is made out of wood and is not going to, and has large teeth, meaning I gather thicker teeth that are less likely to make a wound in the animal. The Gimel Machlokus B'Davar, and there's a three-way disagreement in it on this issue. Rabbi Yehuda Sabar Davar She'enu Miskavin Asur. Rabbi Yehuda says that something that we don't intend to do is considered prohibited, and so as a result, Miyu Kador Kitanim Ba'osin Kabura. So as a result, when you do it with a metal comb that has small teeth, thin teeth that are going to make a wound, so that's a problem. Here's of Gedolim, Ve'enosim Kabura. But if you use a big comb, a wooden comb that has the thick teeth, that's not going to make a wound. Below Gazrin and Kirtz of Atukadra. And we're not going to make it zero. We're not going to say that because we prohibit one, we're going to also prohibit the other. The Rabbanan. What about the rabbis? Sabri Namik Rabbi Yehuda, they also agree with Rabbi Yehuda, namely that they agree that even something that you don't intend to do, if you do it on, if it ends up happening and it's considered a malacha, it's considered prohibited. So they agree with that. Davar she'eno miskavin usher. Again, that something that's unintended can still be prohibited to do on Shabbos. Because Rinan Kirtzav Atu Kador. And but you not only that, but they also say don't use a wooden comb just in case you'll come to use a metal comb. Because even though only the metal comb has the problem, because only a metal comb is going to cause the wounds, but we're worried that if we allow you to use a wooden comb, you'll actually come to eventually use a metal comb as well. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah suffered like Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah thinks like Rabbi Shimon. The Asar Davar She'enu Miskavin Mutter, because he says the Davar She'enu Miskavin Mutter, because he says that something that is unintended is going to be permitted, meaning that because of course the person does not actually intend to cause the wound on the animal, so as a result, if he accidentally causes the wound on the animal, even though it may be something that is likely to happen, we are going to say that it is unintended and it's okay. And so as a result, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says that using both a wooden comb or a metal comb is going to be permitted. Amar Rabba, Amar of Nachman, Amar Shmuel. So how does Shmuel rule on this? But Amrile, Amar of Nachman, and some people say it was just from Nachman himself. Halacha to Rabbi Shimon. The halacha is like Rabbi Shimon, meaning the halacha is that an unintended act is permitted. And so therefore, Shaharei Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah modelo. And he adds that it's because Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah agrees with him. Now, Amar Lei Rabba Nachman. Rabba said to Rav Nachman, I don't understand. If you're going to say that somebody's going, the halacha is like somebody because there's an agreement with the person, why not say that there's the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda because the chachamim, who are multiple people, agree with him, rather than because Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah agrees with Rabbi Shimon. So Amar Lei, Rav Nachman responded, no, you misunderstood what I was trying to say. Anak Rabbi Shimon Svirli. I think that Rabbi Shimon is correct. But Shaharei Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah modelo. And not only that, but Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah agrees with him. So the point was not the fact that that I'm holding like him, but rather it's because I agree with him. And Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah happens now. We have and then so first, Harei Chaim shall pilpul in to Meyam Shlosha Kalim. So we referenced a pepper grinder, and so we're going to now talk about pepper grinders tuma category. So a Rechaim shall pilpul in a pepper grinder can become tame because of basically three different kinds of vessels are included in it. Mishum kli cut people, because it's got a receptacle at the bottom, and that receptacle could be made out of wood even, and that will cause it to be become tame. Mishum kli matachat, and because it's got of course a metal utensil that is doing the grinding, so that's going to be a problem. Mishum kli kvara, and because it's got a sieve, a piece of cloth with holes in it, to make sure that if the pepper is too large, it doesn't come through. So again, the grinder has essentially three components: a grinder at the top, a sieve in the middle, and then a receptacle at the bottom to catch what has been ground. So Tana Beitzah, Tachtona, Mishum Klikibul. Again, the bottom part, now just clarifying exactly what I just said, the bottom part is problematic or can become tame because it has a receptacle. The middle one is because it's a sieve, and Elyona Mishum Kli Matekas, and the top one is because it's a metal utensil. All right, the next Mishnah, Egla Shal Katan. If you have a Galash Shal Katan, if you have a wagon of Katan, and Rashi and Tosfos have a dispute on this. Rashi says that this Agalash Shal Katan is like a stroller that the child sits in and the adult pushes. And Tosfos says, no, it's not a stroller, but rather it's a walker, a little child's walker. So, Tameya Midras. So once we're talking about the Tame of these kind of vessels, so we're going to talk about the Tuma of this child wagon. And we say that child's wagon can receive the Tuma of something that is sat on. So because either it's obvious, because according to Rashi, it's a wagon that the child sits in. And that's why Tosfos has a problem with it, because why do we even need to teach that? So as a result, he says that it's that's why he says it's the walker. And the point is that because the child hasn't learned to walk yet, he's effectively relying on it as a support. And so as a result, it's subject to the special Tuma category of midras. Midras is a special category where even something that you don't touch, that you sit on, where you sit on a cushion, even something below the cushion would become tame as a result of your sitting on it. So, benitlas b'Shabbos, but it can be moved on Shabbos. This child's wagon, ve'ena negreres ela al gabi kela. But you have to be careful not to drag it anywhere except for on clothing, meaning don't put it on directly on the floor. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yehuda says, Kol hakelim ein nigzarin, that you cannot drag any kind of utensils, but chutz min hagalah minei shehi koveshet, but you can take the wagon because it does not create furrows, but rather it presses the ground down. So agalah shel katan tmei mitra. So that's what our now our Gemara analyzes that statement. Because the child leans on it. So again, you can have it either be that the child leaning on it as a walker, like Toso says, or the child is sitting in it as like a stroller. It can be taken on Shabbos because it's a vessel. It has a permitted use. It has some use, and so as a result, it's not buksa. The einin nigreres el al gabi kalim in al gabi karka low. You can drag it on over vessels, yes, but not over the ground. My time of the because we're worried that it's going to make a furrow. So Mani, who is this? Rabbi Yehuda. It's Rabbi Yehuda. The Amr, Davar Shein Miskavin Aser. So this Mishnah must follow like Rabbi Yehuda, who says that something that's unintended and you do it, it's because of course you don't intend to create the furrow. So that's going to be a problem. To eat Rabbi Shimon, because if you say it's Rabbi Shimon, or Davar Shein Miskavin Putter, he says that that's permitted. It's not because we learned in a Beitzah. Rabbi Shimon Omer. Go rare Adam a person's allowed to drag a bed, a chair, and a bench. As long as you don't intend to create a furrow. So Amos say for 1 second, but now what about the end of our Mishnah? It says Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Rabbi Yehuda says, Eina kol nigrarim b'Shabbos. No utensil can be dragged on Shabbos. Chutz min hagalah midnei shehu kobeshes. Midnei shekoveshes in min aval charetz lo avda. But so that suggests that you can drag a wagon because of a wagon presses, whereas and doesn't make a furrow. So I don't understand how. And not only that, but Rabbi Yehuda is the one who says this, and Rabbi Yehuda is the one who says that Davar Shein Miskavin is prohibited. So Trey Tanaya leave it to Rabbi Yehuda. So there are two opinions in Rabbi Yehuda. So one opinion in Rabbi Yehuda is that Rabbi Yehuda considers this something that is likely to create a furrow, and therefore it's going to be prohibited because Davar Shein Miskavin is prohibited. And the second opinion in Rabbi Yehuda says, no, it's not likely to create a furrow, but rather it's going to just press the ground down. And because it's just going to press the ground down, even Rabbi Yehuda would say that would be permitted. So Hadron Alaf Yom Tov, Hadron Alaf Yom Tov, Hadron Alaf Yom Tov. So God willing, tomorrow we'll pick up with a new perek of Maseches Beitzah and Daf Kaf Dalet. So have a wonderful day, everybody.